Man, does it feel good to be back finally. I have wanted to film for so long now, and I did not mean to take that long of a break. Everyone seemed to take a break. I didn't intend to. That was not intentional for me to like enjoy the holidays. I was still gonna keep filming, and then I got sick. 3 sicknesses back to back to back. So I've been sick for 3 weeks straight. I'm feeling much better. We're back to business. Also, new year, new setup. Maybe? I don't know. How do we like this? Just different angle. Still a work in progress, kind of. I want to do some things still. Anyway, let's talk about Night Swim, shall we? The first big horror movie release of the year. It's always exciting to see like how we're gonna start off the year. However, January is famously known as like the horror graveyard because it's where horror movies go to die, especially in theaters. People are going to the movies, but definitely not as much as around the holidays because that's like when people are traveling with family. The holidays just seem to be family movie time. This year, I'm gonna say we're not starting out great. Night Swim is a Blumhouse movie, and at this point, I am getting a little bit losing a little bit of hope when it comes to Blumhouse movies because they used to be really good. He's done a lot, Jason Blum that is, has done a lot of mainstream horror movies, and he has a good resume, okay, when it comes to horror. However, in recent years, it does feel like we're doing, I've said this before, a lot of quantity over quality when it comes to Blumhouse movies, and so I don't get excited about Blumhouse movies anymore. This one was a little bit different because I did see the teaser trailer, or the trailer, I don't know if it's considered a teaser or not, but I did watch it and I was like, you know what? I am gonna have an open mind. I like the concept. It's supernatural and it's PG-13. Maybe it'll be a little spooky. It's kind of, you know, that is a recipe that I generally like. So I like how the official description on IMDb for this movie is a woman swimming in her pool at night is terrorized by an evil spirit. If only that was the movie and it was as simple as that, but that is not accurate at all, and the trailer is very misleading. So let me tell you what the story actually is. Forced into early retirement by a degenerative illness, former baseball player Ray Waller moves into a new house with his wife and 2 children. He hopes that the backyard swimming pool will be fun for the kids and provide physical therapy for himself. However, a dark secret from the home's past soon unleashes a malevolent force that drags the family into the depths of inescapable terror. Honestly, it doesn't sound that bad either. That description, I'm okay with that. It's definitely more accurate to what the story really is, but then you watch the movie. I'll get into my thoughts in a second. So this is written and directed by Bryce McGuire, and looking at his resume on IMDb, it seems like this is his first full-length feature film that he's directed. He actually co-wrote this with Rod Blackhurst, who they teamed up together and made a short version of this, and you can find that on YouTube. And then they later sold the rights to the movie to James Wan's company, Atomic Monster. Now, Jason Blum is a producer on this as well, so it's still a Blumhouse movie, Atomic Monster movie. They collaborated. Well, actually, Jason Blum and James Wan have now permanently collaborated, right? Their companies have meshed together and they've created a horror house, if you will. Anyway, the only actor in this that I recognized right away was Wyatt Russell, who I remember from Black Mirror. He was in the episode Playtest, and I liked the concept of that episode. It's similar to how I feel about this movie, to be honest. But the execution wasn't exactly what I wanted. Like, it left me, you know, wanting a little bit more. But I think something about Wyatt Russell specifically is like he reads comedy. I don't know if that makes sense. And it's not a negative necessarily. For me personally, in Black Mirror, he was too much. He was too comedic and annoying. It got to an annoying point. That didn't happen in Night Swim. However, sometimes his line deliveries and his performance is like, I can't tell if you're joking or not. Like, I can't tell if you're being serious. And it's not intentional. Like, it is a serious movie. He was being serious. So in that regard, I wasn't a huge fan of the performances. So in general, did not like this movie. Yeah, you know, by the end, I was very frustrated with the movie and I was like laughing. I'll say exactly why I was laughing in spoilers, because we're doing spoilers, baby. We got to. Because what was that ending? But it wasn't anything like I thought. I kept such an open mind too. I was like, it's supernatural in a pool. what's not to like? That sounds cool. It's like kind of an original idea. I know it's been done before in like Are You Afraid of the Dark or whatever, but generally we've never seen like a movie about that. So I was like, this is cool. It's a water-based movie. I love water horror. And it wasn't anything. Nothing special, ironically, because it's original. Didn't like it. But let's go with the positives first, and then we'll get into all of my criticism about the movie. The positives, the idea. The concept of a haunted swimming pool, genius. I thought it was great. There was one scene in particular that kind of reminded me of It, the movie, and The Ring mixed together. That sounds like fun, right? It was a good scene. I liked it a lot. That was basically it. Like, that was the only time I really felt a sense of dread or horror elements really coming through for me, because otherwise... The one other positive were some of the visuals. I actually was a really big fan of when the characters would dive deep into the pool and they look up and it's just like a little tiny rectangle up there to show you how deep this is going. It's like this, I don't know, it's supernatural. So obviously the pool's not that deep, but I liked that visual of something else is going on here. And then there is a scene later in the end of the movie that I really liked that I'll mention in spoilers as well. So some of the visuals were cool. There were 2 horror elements that really worked for me. Otherwise, they were a bit goofy. Okay, let's just get on to the negatives, shall we? I'm sorry. I genuinely am sorry we're starting the year off with a bad movie. Like, in my opinion, it's bad. Obviously, there are people who have fun with this movie. It's not, you know, a movie to be taken that seriously. We're not here to, like, critique it, like, as film critics. It's not one of those kind of movies where you, like, dissect the character development and everything. It's not like that. It's just a fun Blumhouse, like, cheesy popcorn movie, you know? So I know it's not that serious, and I know people are gonna love it. Like, some people are going to love it. So take my opinion with a grain of salt. Go see it if you like Blumhouse movies or James Wan movies generally. You'll probably enjoy it. But with the negatives, let's just get into it. Cliches galore. So many cliches. Oh my god. First off, the general story of this family moving into this house. I mean, that's a tale as old as time in the horror genre. Especially when one of them is ill. They move into a new house and they have to adjust to a new school, and it's all of that stuff. I thought there was too much of that, by the way. Like, too much side stuff going on, like with the daughter and everything. And it's like the son, I think, was a more important character. We didn't get a lot of backstory with him or like focus on him, but we got more with the daughter. So many jump scares in this movie, and that's to be expected. I did not expect anything else. Like, I'm not, you know, going into this movie thinking it's going to be an art house movie with no jump scares and it's going to scare me with a lot of visuals. I get it. They have to scare the viewer some way, so they're going to scare you with heart palpitations. I don't know. None of them were effective. None of them. To me. And I'm really sensitive to jump scares now for some reason. None of them worked. They were all terrible. Some of the worst jump scares I've ever seen are in this movie. And the reason why they're bad is because it'll be like right before a cut. So there's like a pool party that they're having and a balloon pops. That's a jump scare. A balloon popping. I don't know if they were intending that to be a jump scare, like in the horror sense, like you're supposed to be freaked out by the jump scare, or why they had that in there. It was just loud for no reason. I don't know. It was weird jump scares like that. Personally, I didn't really like any part of the story or the family dynamic. Didn't care about any of them. Also, the pacing of this is bizarre. There are scenes that are like tense, but because, like, not in a horror sense tense, if that makes sense. Which I'll give an example with my next critique about this. Too much baseball. I don't really like sports anyway, but I think baseball is like one of the most boring personally to watch. No, you know, hate to people who like baseball, obviously. It's just not my sport. I don't like watching sports in general, so forgive me. Yeah, too much baseball for me. And obviously it's gonna be good for some people if you like baseball. But like, why do we have so much baseball going on? Baseball was such a huge plot point in this movie, and like one of the whole reasons they were even in that house was because of baseball, and the whole reason they turn evil is because of baseball. Like, baseball is the core of this movie, which is bizarre because if you watch the trailer, it's a girl swimming in a pool with her supposed boyfriend, who, whatever, playing Marco Polo. I did not expect that much baseball to be in the movie. So my example with the story, or like the tense moments that aren't even about horror, is like the dad gets up to bat at his boys' little league baseball game, or, you know, practice, whatever, and they're like, hey, you want to hit a couple balls? Because he's an ex-baseball player. He's like, okay. And it's like so tense in that scene. It's like we're on the edge of our seat seeing if he can still hit a ball after being retired and injured for so long. I thought this was about a pool. Next critique, characters are stupid. I'm sorry, I'm really going in on this movie. I really did not like it. Characters are dumb. I don't understand it. This is just one of those movies where they make dumb decisions, or like their decisions just don't make sense at all. Like, they're just weird choices. One example is in the trailer, actually, is the girl playing Marco Polo with the guy that she's interested in at school, and she has her eyes closed for too long. At some point, I'd be like, all right, I can't, where are you? I'm opening my eyes. Like, she's so committed to the game, she won't open her eyes. I don't know. It's just like weird choices like that, only to move the plot along, obviously. There's a reason why she has her eyes closed, and they wrote it that way. It's so we can be spooked by the spirit that's there. That's just one example. There's probably some other ones I can give, you know, but they'd be a spoiler. Just in general, the characters are kind of dumb. Like, just their choices for how they're dealing with this haunted pool. Terrible ending. That's the part I laughed at. Actually, there's two parts in the end that I laughed at, and I was not supposed to. First, well, the last scene, I was laughing because of how bad the dialogue was written. Like, this final scene, that's not how that conversation would pan out. Like, it's just written so poorly in the end. I'm confused because, okay, it's not my movie, you know, through the middle and whatnot. And then the end happens and I'm like, okay, why'd they write it like that? Like, it was strange. The ending was absolutely terrible. Like, you could probably come up with a better ending. Like, you just, you know, an average person could probably come up with a better ending on how to deal with a haunted swimming pool. I don't know. I'll say exactly what was funny about it in spoilers. I wish this movie was simpler. I saw the trailer and I thought, ooh, it's a single location movie. You know, this girl is swimming in a pool, but there's ghosts. Probably people who have drowned in the pool, I'm guessing. Simple storyline. Just keep it in the pool. Keep it there, and you know, she gets trapped in the pool, she like can't get out for whatever reason, right? Supernatural, who cares? She can't get out, and then she's like being haunted by all these spirits, and she has to like see their life story, or like how they drowned, or it's like disturbing. I don't know. The trailer implied something completely different than what the movie ended up being. Just in general, I think this movie was way too complicated for its concept. The concept is a haunted swimming pool. Like, it doesn't need to be like this whole like, well, this baseball player, he has MS and he needs like water therapy. So they move into this house where the pool is haunted, and then there's this huge backstory. I'm not going to tell you because you can watch the movie yourself if you want. Huge backstory as to why the water is haunted, right? And then there's like research scenes of them trying to figure out the history of this pool, and it's like, it does not need to be that deep. We don't need to introduce all these side characters at all. Don't need them. Focus on your main four people. Overall, I felt like this movie was completely rushed. It didn't feel fleshed out. Like, the writing wasn't fleshed out. It wasn't a great story, and the execution obviously wasn't great. And I feel like a lot of takes were like single takes. It just felt like a rushed cash grab movie, because they know they'll make a profit. I think at this point Blumhouse knows he'll make a profit on his movies regardless because of his history. So I feel like the effort is dying down, and it's very evident in this movie. It did not feel fully, like, he didn't put all of his effort into this movie. There's no way. And granted, it's not completely Jason Blum's fault by any means. There's a lot of people that worked on this movie, and the effort just wasn't there, which is really disappointing because it makes me feel like, as a horror fan, we're just being taken advantage of with our money. Like, they know we're gonna go see these movies, so it doesn't have to be that good because we'll take what we can get, first and foremost, being horror fans. But I feel like the genre has expanded so much, and more and more horror fans are coming to light here because horror is becoming a wider genre, and maybe the horror directors and writers feel like they don't have to try as hard anymore to get fans and to get people talking about them, because a lot of people watch horror nowadays. I don't know. I'm not trying to be dramatic about it. It's not their fault. It's just where we are in the horror movie genre and process and everything. And last year was kind of evident of that as well. And I'm frustrated because we, you know, although before it was slim pickings in the theater of how many horror movies we got, now we have a bunch, but it's like slim pickings as to what's actually good. I don't know if it's just me either. Like, it could just me being a negative Nancy. I don't know. You tell me how you feel about these kind of movies that feel like cash grabs and they just want your money. Okay, let's get into spoilers for this movie. So I don't recommend going to see it. So wait till streaming or just watch my video and don't watch the movie. So let's just jump right to the ending. There's so many other things I want to talk about, but right to the ending. What the heck was that? What was that? Did they get rid of the spirits with love? Like Harry Potter? Like, is that what it was? They just loved the husband so much, or the dad, that the spirits were like, oh, I'm out of here. Like, did they fight off the ghosts with love? Because all that happened, the dad was possessed by this water. A wish will be granted if one life is given, right? Someone has to die for someone's wish to come true. That's how complicated this movie gets, okay? This is a magic spring water that used to be like a natural spring hundreds of years ago. And then ever since, it's been turned into this pool. It used to be worshipped. Now it's like a curse to whoever moves in. Someone has to, you know, die, and then they get a magic wish. And his wish was to go back to baseball and be a famous baseball player again. Guess who has to die? His son. So the dad's trying to kill the son, right? And the dad's possessed by the water. So it's not really the dad. It's like he's possessed by this evil spirit that wants to kill the son. Kind of like in Amityville Horror, you know? He's possessed by the spirits of the house to kill his family. So in the end, he's like writhing there. He's like struggling with this spirit. It's almost like an exorcism. And then the wife is like, come back to me. Remember, you know, come to my voice. Like, it's one of those moments. And he's just like called out of it. And he throws up the water, the black water, which is the spirit. And that's how it ends. And I'm like, how did they actually defeat it? She was just calling, he defeated it. Like, he was done. He's like, you know what? I actually don't want to kill my son, so I'm gonna vomit this out. And then the funniest part of the movie happened right after that. Unintentionally funny, by the way, but I laughed out loud and I felt really bad for the people near me because it probably was goofy to laugh at, but I just couldn't help myself. I was like, did that really happen? So he vomits out the spirit, the water, right? And then he just looks at his son. He's like, is he okay? In that tone, like he scraped his knee. Oh, is he all right? Oh, is he good? My son, who I tried to kill, is he good? He's okay? It's the most unserious line reading. That's what I mean by this Wyatt Russell feeling like he's a funny character all the time. Like, it was funny to me. Like, it could have easily been in a scary movie or something, you know what I mean? Anyway, the son gets possessed by the water at this point because it needs to take hold of someone, I guess. And the dad, you know, decides he's gonna sacrifice himself for the son, and he dies. Which, thank God, honestly, because at this point the body count was very low. There's like no deaths in this movie. There's one in the beginning of the movie. And then the dad at the end. And that was like a happy, like, oh, I'm saving my son moment. Like, so he decides to die. And then we have the dumbest conversation. It shows the mother and the daughter standing next to the pool looking at it. And she's like, the mom says, we can still move, you know. And she's like, well, it'll just happen to somebody else. And dad wouldn't want that. And the mom says, yeah. And then it pans out, and then they start filling in the pool with dirt. So it's like, I have so many questions about that one scene. First of all, written terribly. That's another part where I laughed at. I'm like, are they really saying, like, we can still move? Dad wouldn't want this to happen to anyone else. Like, it was so... the writing was just so bad. And then how would it happen necessarily to someone else if you're filling in the pool with dirt? You're fixing the problem. You're getting rid of the pool. So because it's magical spring water, it's just going to come back? Is that what they're anticipating? Let's just become like a swamp now with all the dirt. Also, when you fill in a pool, like you want to remove a pool, do they not take out the ceramic tile and all that stuff, the cement? Do they not break that all up, or do they literally just fill it in? That feels like really bad for nature, to just put a bunch of dirt in the ground on the ceramic and the cement of the pool. I don't know. And no one's really that emotional about anything. The mom is probably the best character, I think, as far as like her performance. The daughter was probably the worst. There were many times where she had to cry and no tears. So we're gonna end on a positive with my favorite scene from the movie, because like I said, I liked some of the visuals. Some of the visuals were very pretty and very aesthetically shot, and also haunting, like very horrific to look at. So my favorite scene was when the mom is swimming down to save her son. Her son is being dragged to the bottom of the pool, but obviously it's like into the depths, like it is down there. So when she looks back, it's the little rectangle from the surface, right? I explained that earlier. And she has her little flashlight from her keychain, and it's kind of like flashing onto all the ghosts that are swimming around in this pool, which is a really cool visual. All the people who have been dragged to the depths from this water. But I guess I won't end on a positive, because I do have a critique of that scene as well. The hose. She takes the hose, before she dives down in there, she takes the hose, ties it to the diving board, and then grabs it and dives down, so she has an out, right? She can pull herself back up, or someone can pull her out. I get it, that's fine. You know, she reaches the end of the slack, right? It won't go anymore. I should not do that. She's pulling on it, and it won't go anymore. So she takes a breath out of the hose. She puts her mouth on it, breathes air so she could go deeper. Is it not kinked up and like tied at the diving board? There's no way you're getting that much oxygen, if maybe a little bit, but you know when you get a kink in your hose and the water just isn't coming out, it's just like that. It's tied in a knot. What air are you getting out of that? I think they just needed something so she could explain how long she's actually down there. And then they had a line earlier how her dad was in the Navy and she's been doing swimming, like diving things since before she could walk, you know. They had to have that little moment in there, so we were like, you know, suspension of disbelief of how good of a swimmer the mom randomly is and how long she can hold her breath. The son would have been gone. Like, what about him? He's been down there longer than you. How is he breathing? Or how, you know, it's just, doesn't make any sense. We have all this explanation of the mom so she could save the son's life, but what about the son? He's like unconscious, like he's drowning. Anyway, even my favorite scenes had flaws. Even my favorite parts of the movie weren't perfect, and they don't have to be, but it really was not enjoyable of a movie. Like it was a movie. It was a movie, and it's like, it just feels like every other thing that we're getting, the same formula, the same recipe, the same cliches over and over again, the same story, the same scares. Feels like it's been done before, even though the story hasn't. You'd think with an original idea, something would feel original about it, and I just didn't get anything from it, like no originality. I have said so many negative things about it. I don't know why I'm giving it a 2 out of 5. I think because the concept in general is cool, and whoever came up with that is good. I appreciate you, because that concept's cool. I just wish it was done by a different company or something, a different director, a different writer, because it just was lacking in so many ways. But the concept was cool, and some of the visuals were cool. There's my thoughts on Night Swim. I'm hoping my next video will actually be about Saltburn, because I watched Saltburn twice and I'm obsessed with it. So stay tuned for my thoughts on Saltburn. Anyway, what are your thoughts on Night Swim? Did you see it? Are you gonna see it? Is it kind of up your alley or no? It wasn't for me. It just feels like same old that we get every year, especially in January. I don't know. It just, not good. So leave your thoughts down below. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you soon.